and then I'm going to switch that back to... How am I going to do this? Am I just going to exit? I think I'm just going to exit the game. Right. And then we'll switch back to my desktop. Hello everybody! It's my desktop, and it's not How To the Milk Float, don't be silly. It's How To RailDriver. So, who knows what a RailDriver is? RailDriver is one of those things. I probably should put the other camera on, shouldn't I? That'd be quite appropriate if we had the other camera on, given it's all about what's on that other camera. So yes, this is RailDriver. It's a piece of hardware that will allow you to drive trains. It's been around for many years now, and it supports pretty much every train simulator there is. So, including its supported rail simulator and so forth since the early days right up to now. But what happened was that locos moved on and interface and APIs didn't, which meant that you ended up with a number of problems, shall we say, where locos require they require what's called a virtual controller. So you end up with a virtual throttle being the thing that you're actually operating with the A and the D keys, and then the scripting for the loco takes this virtual throttle, does stuff with it, and then operates the internal throttle control to actually make the train move. And a number of controls have these virtual controls, and the trains have these virtual controls. Get my teeth in a mess. So what that meant was that any trains that needed these virtual controllers couldn't be driven with a RailDriver, which is a bit of a limitation, and it happened basically was affecting more and more trains. One of the recent patches to Train Simulator created a new API, so BNSF says the title doesn't make sense. Alright, I'll change the title. I'll just put the word RailDriver in, how's that? So one of the recent patches updated the... oh, thanks Fringe Starlin. Get a spam of messages coming in now. Right, we'll try that again. Yes, so we'll have a... I've completely lost my train of thought. So yes, so one of the recent patches created a new API which allowed access to all these virtual controllers, and PI Engineering have done some really great work making it updating their software to use the new API, and the result basically is finished today. So there was an extra patch needed that enabled you to use fix a couple of issues with the RailDriver. That came out in the latest version, which was launched today of TrainSim. So 52.2a, I think, is the version number, and that's the version that will that should make everything work much better. PI Engineering have re-released their latest version of their software in beta, so go ahead and give that a try. That's on RailDriver.com. Let me just bring their website up so I can show you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the RailDriver in a bit and show you their software and what you can do with it. So over here, if you go into support and click Train Simulator here, and then up here you've got this update, and you follow the instructions carefully to upgrade. Click here, and then follow these instructions for the new 1.1.1.74 update. Download it, install it, and very carefully follow these instructions. The important one is this one, File New. What that'll do is it'll reset to make sure you're definitely using the new script, otherwise it doesn't change anything. Yes, I did when I tested this earlier on. I got it wrong and wondered why it didn't work, and then I went back and reread the instructions. So do read the instructions carefully. It does work. So that's how you download it. It's all on RailDriver.com. And what you end up with is a thing called MacroWorks, which is this. Ignore all the USB noise, that's just my computer. So, MacroWorks, which is actually showing the XKeys at the moment, let's ignore that. So if you've got a RailDriver, this is the sort of interface you see. Let me make it a bit bigger. And it's showing you your RailDriver and all the mappings and so forth. Now the first thing you're going to do, if you haven't used the RailDriver before, is to do a calibration. So I'm going to do a calibration right now. If I can remember how I do it. I think I have to go to run the calibration tool. No? Okay, alright. Let me just get the calibration tool up so that you can see the calibration process, because it's okay once you've seen it. It's pretty easy. Someone's probably saying on the chat how I get it. Oh dear. It basically it'll come up with the calibration before you even start. So, but I'm struggling to find this calibration tool. It's the problem. I ran all of this through before I started. Let me try this folder. You should know by now nothing ever goes quite smoothly. So I'm looking in PI Engineering MacroWorks and there is definitely no calibration tool in there. Oh, that's XKeys. So where's PI Engineering stuff gone? That's interesting. Apparently I've got a folder missing here somewhere. Maybe it's on the D drive. Ah yes, it's on the D drive. That's why I can't find it. I have two folders. Right. Apologies. And which one's the calibration tool? There it is. Right, so the calibration tool is program files, PI Engineering, MacroWorks, devices, RailDriver, RD calibration. It's probably in the start menu somewhere, but I can never find anything on menus on Windows 8. So so click RD calibration, and it'll ask you to do this calibration process. So the process of calibration is with all of these bits here, and basically what you're trying to do is match up, because these come back with various numbers. They're analog controls, and what you're trying to do is tell it what these values are so that it can make sense of them. So what you're going to do is just exercise the controls to each of their ranges. So first thing it's saying, move the reverser to fully reversed position. So we'll move it into the reversed position, and then we click calibrate. And then we move it to the neutral position and click calibrate, and then full forward and click calibrate. So that's that one done. Now we're going to do this combined throttle and dynamic brake. Move it to the full throttle. So if necessary, just exercise it backwards and forwards, and then click calibrate. Move it to throttle idle, calibrate, dynamic brake, calibrate, and dynamic brake setup, calibrate. Right, calibration results out of bounds. Now I had this before. What you need to do to fix this is go help, about, and click on the little bit that says copyright. Bound limits disabled. I don't know why, but if I now exercise that, it works. And it works absolutely fine the way it is. Right, next we've got the train brake controller. So I usually push it and then pull it back. Auto brake released, click calibrate. Full auto brake. Move it up as far as the notch. So there's a notch here. I don't know if you can hear the click. If you push it up against the notch and then click calibrate, and then push it into the emergency position and press calibrate. That's that one done. One more to go. Oh, actually no, we've got a couple more to go. Loco brake, which is this one. So in the released state, push it against the spring and hold it. Right, put it up into independent brake full, and then against the spring again. Right, next we've got the wipers to do, and these are the last bits. So put the wipers in, all the switches in the right positions, and then calibrate, and move the top one across, that one across, back, and then calibrate, middle, and then calibrate. Right, so if we now move everything off, put that into neutral, train brake on, loco brake on, and throttle in the middle, then we're all set up. So that's done the calibration step. It is really important that you do the calibration step and you do it carefully. So what you need to do is, if you have any problems where the controllers don't go up to 100% or they don't go down to 0%, redo the calibration. Okay. So now we're back in here, and just referring back to my crib notes. So the first thing you want to do up here is go into your file, and then remember the instructions said to do new, so we click file, new, we click yes, and that's going to reset and make sure you're on the latest version of the script, which you need to be on to be running correctly. If we also go in help about, make sure that you're on 1.1.1.74, so that makes sure we're on the correct version of the software. That's only really going to be important if you've had previous versions installed. You may want to uninstall them first. Right, so before we go any further, let me just move this off the screen and fire the game up. Hey there, Tubble12. Thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. So I'm going to fire the game up now, so let me switch it back to changing route for a minute while I get the game fired up. Get the game all fired up. And what we'll do is we'll just prove that basically what we've got so far basically works, and then we'll have a look at how we can tweak and tune it and do other stuff with it. The game will be loaded in just a minute. Sorry, I'm just having a quick look at the chat, see where we're at with any feedback. If you've got any questions for what I'm doing, please make sure one of the moderators sees it so that it can get pinged through to me. Right, so I'm just going to do a quick drive, just a real simple one. Fire up. Let's do a class 20, shall we? Why not? Rail freight, because I like rail freight. Right, so we've got the game back. Right, so this is, I'm just doing a quick drive. I've got a class 20 running on the Ruhr-Sieg line because, I'm just going to basically show you it working. Fingers crossed. It worked earlier on. Alright, so we've got some game noise. We've got some game noise again. So, if we look at the HUD, as I move the reverser, you can see it moving. If I move the brake, you can see it moving. And this proves everything's working well, because this train has got a virtual reverser. Sorry, a virtual brake. Let me move the... oh, you can't see it. Alright. I was just going to demonstrate the controller names, but I can't. Alright. So you got the train brake, we've got the reverser, we've got the throttle. So let's put the reverser into forwards. Take the loco brake off. You can see the brake's now releasing. Just pressing the horn. And we're off. So this loco would not have been driven previously because of the problem with the virtual controllers. It now can be. So it's the headlights, just operating the switch down here. Wipers. If you look at the sander, you can see the sand icon comes on. So it's basically just working. There's not a lot to it. It just does what it says on the tin. There's some controls down here. You can use the cursor keys at the bottom here to move the view around or to zoom in or out. And then there's other functions down here, like I can press quit. So that's kind of what we're doing with the with RailDriver. So that's basically it working. So I saw someone there, American Steam, said, "What script did I load?" I didn't. I just pressed File New, and it automatically does the it loads the default script in, which is what you need to do, because there's the new stuff has got completely new script using the new API. So you click File New, and it will then make sure you're using that script. If you've got previous version of it installed, if you don't do File New, you're using the new software, but you're not using the new script, so you're no better off. So how do we tweak this? So let's come out of the game. And go back to the desktop. And we'll bring MacroWorks back on board. So you see all of these have got ticks on them. I've made this a little bit bigger just so that we can see what's going on. What this is telling you which ones have got things attached to them. So button 1, button 2. So if I double click on this one, it brings up an editor, and I can see that when I press this button, it presses left control and Q get pressed down, and when I release it, the Q and the left control get released. So I could change that if I wanted to. Similarly, if I double click this one, it presses the up key and releases the up key. Hence, it makes the camera get closer. So I can change what these do. Now, one example here is this button here presses the space and releases the space. The bottom one does exactly the same thing, and well, I'm thinking maybe that should do the B key. So how do we change that? So we're going to keystrokes, and I'm going to get rid of that. So delete selected, keystrokes, and then we're going to record just pressing, if we press actually, no, we'll pause, get it right, go into the top one and click this automatic separation of up and down keystrokes. Let me show you what happens if we don't do that. If I press record and I just press the B key and go back to pause, you'll see it's put the down and the up both into here. Well, clearly I don't want that. That's no use to me at all. Now you could do it the long way, but let me show you the quick way. Click this button here, click record and type B. Right, it's put the B in the press and the release in the release. So that's pretty much done that job. So what we've done there is we've now set horn down. So that top arrow tick there is for whistle up. This is for whistle down. So we've set that one up as a B, except it hasn't worked. Why isn't the B working? Whoops. Okay, now I'm making a total mess of it. Let's pause. Let's redo that again. I obviously got something wrong here. Record B, right? Pause that and then save it. There you go. So B down and B up. So now what happens is whenever you move the horn, this one, into the down position, it's going to send a B key to the game. When you move it into the up position, it's going to send a space key to the game. So if you've got locos with multiple horns, you can wire this up to do that. You could actually wire any of these up to do that. So for example, this key hasn't got anything on it. If I want, say, this to do the page down key for PZB, I click that, I click record, and I do a page down key. That's it. That button is now mapped to do the page down key for PZB. So you can set all of these buttons up to do whatever you like. What you can't change is this lot here, all the throttles and levers and everything else. That's all done in the script itself. If you are a programmer, you can change it, but you need to be a programmer. It's not trivial. Let me just show you the script so that you can see it. If I bring up the script code, you'll see that you've got all of the script is in here for doing all sorts of stuff with this for example is the bit which determines the processing when it changes the loco. So it says get loco name. If this loco is not empty, then is it the same as what we had before? If it isn't, then start dealing with a new loco. So that's kind of what that's doing. If you're not a programmer, I would go nowhere near that. If you are a programmer, this is how you can change the behavior and do specific scripts for specific locos. For example, to add notching, if you want to do notching, or if you want to do what I do on my own program, which is to make the loco brake actually operate the throttle. That's kind of it, really. So the other thing that's really handy on the RailDriver is this bit down here. Let me just make this camera a bit bigger. Right, so this bar down the bottom here has got little white labels in the top, and what you can do is you can take the top off of this. Let me have a go at doing that, see if I don't break anything. It's just clipped in, it's not too difficult, it's just it's all attached to my that's it. And you can take it off. Stop beeping at me. And then these, you just print them out. Yeah, they're just little bits of paper with what the functions do on them. So you can sort of say track number or change junction ahead. You put them back down in just roughly the right place, and then you put this back down on the top. So you can, when you've put all of your myriad of functions that you've customized on there, you can then change the labels on the RailDriver so that they match it, so that you don't have to have another cheat sheet trying to figure out what's going on. Right. So that basically is the RailDriver. You can do more with it, as I say, if you customize the scripts, but the script that comes with it now drives most locos. You'll find that most locos now work fine. So let me put the camera back up there. Actually, no, because the next thing I want to show you is, you'll have seen me using this. This is the Orby. This is another product from PI Engineering. This is called an Orby. And then the other thing that I use quite frequently is this, except you can't see it because it's sitting on the floor. This is a foot pedal, unsurprisingly. What it comes with is a really nice long heavy duty cord. You stick it on the floor and it will stand being kicked around or thrown around, sorry. So that you can do that. Now both of those are what they call XKeys products, and they plug into the computer with it looks like a little USB memory stick, and then you plug the cable into it, and that kind of makes it work. You can plug up to 3 switches into the USB, yeah, and it's dead easy after that. So I'm going to show you how to set that up in a minute. The Orby and the foot pedal, you can get them on XKeys.com, which is another site from PI Engineering, so it's all the same kit. Once it's actually installed, you then can use MacroWorks, as you can see here, to then configure it and set up what it does. Actually, you can't see it because the camera's in the way. Let me move the camera out of the way. We don't need that anymore. So you can see the software. All I did was click this little drop-down box up here, and because it's detected, I've got a thing called an XK3 switch interface, which is this little USB dongle. Yeah, you can plug in various different things. So it'll take up to 3 devices using the TRRS style plug. And essentially it's one plug that goes in the back of the USB, and there's 3 sockets coming out the other side, and you can plug the different switches into it. It's not a lot to it. It's pretty simple. It plugs and plays. It does what it says on the tin. For some reason, however, my MacroWorks is not allowing me to configure it. However, there is another way of doing it. So, actually, what I was going to show you is this. So this is the Orby switches that I was talking about you can get from PI Engineering. So I'm using a yellow one of these. And then the foot pedal is this one, the commercial foot switches. So again, I'm using the black one. And then the USB adapter is this one. And then I'm using this cable. So this is the bit that plugs into the USB adapter, and then you get these 3 sockets, and you plug the Orby into one, the foot pedal into another. You could plug another Orby in, or another foot pedal or something in there if you wanted to as well. So those are the 3 products that I'm using. And what was the next bit? I think that's it actually for that bit. So now, how do we set that up? Given that I can't use, you normally use this. I'm using a thing called the one of the other things you can download is called the XKeys Basic Setup from the XKeys.com website. So let me fire up XKeys Basic Setup, which I installed earlier. Right. So it wants to know which XKeys device. So technically, RailDriver is actually an XKeys device. Ruben Davey, where's a cheap place to buy a RailDriver? I actually have no idea where your cheapest place to buy a RailDriver is these days. I've not really been looking at it. I would normally go for Amazon, but I don't think it's the cheapest place at the moment. I think the retail price is actually about £199. It's quite expensive. It seems to have gone up, but I think that's probably down to the fact that they're not anywhere near as in demand these days. So let me switch XK3 switch interface thumb, and then we get this basic setup. So what we do now is we can save to device, read from device. The XKeys USB dongle was actually really clever. If all you're doing is sending keystrokes, you don't even need to have software running. It'll actually pretend to be a keyboard. When you press a button, it will press the key for you. So here what we can do is if I double click on here, we can see that when I press the yellow button, so this is the Orby, so if I press the Orby, okay, press the Orby, go on, no, okay, what about that one? No, alright, fine. Normally when you press the button, it will highlight it for you. I think it's because I've got something highlighted, it's not doing it. So if I double click on that, it says XKeys button press, says press Q, and that says release Q. So if I wanted that to do something else, like say do the page down, then I can do that. And the keys basically are all set up exactly the same way. This is a really familiar user interface to the other system. So let's say, for example, we want this one to do page down. The automatic separation. We click start recording, and we press page down. And it didn't do what I asked it to do. Never mind. So we delete that one. No, stop recording. Delete that line, delete that line, delete that, and delete that, and delete that. And then down here, if I do page down, I can get rid of that. Right, so now we've got page down is pressed, page down is released. What that means, if I press OK here, if I now click File, Save to Device, that's now saved that setting down to the device, and every time I press the yellow button, it's going to actually do a page down key. Now, for my example, I actually want that to be a Q key. So let me get rid of what's in here. Start recording Q. So that's done the Q in press and release into there. And notice that says that's in red. That means it's not been saved to the device yet. So if I click save, it goes black to say that it's now saved. Press the foot pedal. No, I thought I'd get away with it, but I didn't. So in this case, the foot pedal is currently set to do numpad enter. So for example, this is set up to do AWS on this button, on the yellow one, and DSD on this one, or CIFA even. So this is basically how you set that up. Now once it's been set up and saved away, we press OK, and we can exit that because you don't need the software running anymore. Now if I fire up Notepad and we just have a look at what it does, because it is just pressing keys. If I press the yellow button, yeah, it's just pressing the what I'm doing is pressing the button, and it's pressing the Q for me. It's pressing 2 Qs for some reason, and if I do the foot pedal, it does the enter key for me. So that's pretty much doing exactly what it says on the tin. It's really straightforward, and then that will obviously map into pressing those keys in the game. So that gets you some extra buttons. Now the Orby is it's actually a really nice button because even though it's quite a large button, you can press even on these sides here and it will still register the click. So, which is really nice. I should say, by the way, that the XKeys and the Orby were sent to, the foot pedal and the Orby were sent to me free of charge by PI, so that I could do some development work with them for testing and so forth. But I wanted to be completely upfront with that. So I would take the video, look at what you're doing, make your own decision. Do not consider this to be a review. This is more an informational and a how-to thing. I don't want anyone thinking that I'm being an unbiased reviewer when I quite probably am a very biased reviewer. So that's the Orby, that's the foot pedal. You could put a third device in there. There is another XKeys product with 12 inputs on it, so you could plug a range of different things in. They've also got a range of different foot pedals that are quite large as well, if you think that's too small. Although realistically, this is about the size of a foot, to be honest. It's that's my hand, so it's quite comfortable. I leave it on the floor and it gets kicked around quite a bit, it has to be said. Yes, so that's the let me just see if I've missed anything. No, I think that's basically it. So on that note, what questions are there? Any questions that I'm missing? So if you've got any questions, give me a shout. If you need to use notching GeForce, then unfortunately that will require scripting. I'm not aware of any way of doing that without actually putting some scripting in there too. Essentially what you're doing is you're saying that between this range do notch 1 and between this range do another notch. So if you need to do improve the notching, then you'll need to do that in script. If you're finding that the throttle settings aren't working particularly well, then what I've done is, like I said, that's one of the reasons I use the loco brake for my throttle, because I find that throttle here is less accurate than I would like it to be. So I use the loco brake, and then I use one of the buttons to switch it between loco brake and throttle. That's not supported as standard in the scripting that's supplied. So what you end up, so you would have to then write some script to do that. When I'm a bit more familiar with the way that the VB script that this uses is set up, what I'm going to do is put another tutorial together, which is how you completely custom script a loco, so that you can do notching and use the loco brake and all that sort of stuff. Because it's easy, it's possible, and it's not particularly hard. But it would be certainly something that I think people would like to see. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me have a look. Does the foot controller work with TeamSpeak 3, I'm assuming, Dave? Because it's just pressing buttons, no reason why not. You could set the foot controller up to map to your microphone mute, or sorry, the speech button in TeamSpeak 3. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do that. Sherwood 1990, thank you for the follow, much appreciated. What else have we got? Yes, it is VB script Ridecar, so it's quite easy to understand. There's a fair bit of code in there, but if you look through it, it's quite easy. Do you have the commercial or industrial foot pedal? It's the commercial one, BNSF. I didn't feel the need for an industrial one. Just having a quick read through to see what other questions. Is there any other questions that I've missed? I keep thinking there is, but is it possible to use the Cytec rudder pedals in the same way you use the PI pedal? Not out of the box. You'd need custom software to do that. But I mean, if someone writes the software for it, then yes, you could. But the software doesn't exist at the moment to do that. Sorry, I'm just looking through the chat to see if I've missed any other questions. Shout if there's anything I'm missing. So I think I've covered everything off. We've got the software installed. We've configured the software. BNSF says, does the button and pedal need special programming to run in train simulators? You can use the software that it comes with. The XKeys basic setup or MacroWorks will enable you to actually to drive the to set it to do whatever you like in the game, just by mapping them to a key press. So you can do that. That's actually very easy. Pretty much as I've just shown you. You just set that up. That's dead easy. As addition to that question, can you set the RailDriver per loco, or do you have to reset them every time you switch locos? I think you have to change them each time you switch. If you're switching what the functionality is, then you'd have to change that. There is no reason why, in theory, you couldn't set one button. So when I press the Orby, maybe it sends Q page down numpad enter, and then when you release it, it releases them all. Because or you do a sequence on the, so when you press it, it presses and releases Q, presses and releases numpad enter, presses and releases page down. That way, with different locos, you'll find that the other keys will just get ignored, and the one that you want gets used. That might make it a little bit more flexible, so that you're not doing that quite so much. GWR5049, how much is it? So RailDriver, I think, is usually around the, I don't know how much that costs, is to be blunt. It's under £200. I don't know what the exact number is. And the Orby, so the Orby button I think is $40. The XKeys I think is about $40, and the foot pedal I think is about $40. So you can get the prices off the PI Engineering website. Yes, so we've got the software installed. We've set the RailDriver up. We've got the RailDriver working. We've gone through the calibration process. And and we've looked at the Orby and the foot pedal. The foot pedal and the Orby to me have been game changers. They've been really, really useful. Having a nice big button, I call it my smacky button. Having a nice big button that you can, when the AWS alarm goes off, or when something like a PZB alarm needs to be pressed, just smacking that button just makes it so much more easy. And in reality, certainly the AWS button is a big button that you just smack. I don't know about, I think PZB is a lever that you pull, so maybe not quite so violent. And the foot pedal, again, in real trains, they have foot pedals for doing the driver safety devices, so that's, again, it's quite reasonable. Okay, I think we've pretty much covered everything we need to cover on the RailDriver. If you've got any other questions or things that you'd like me to cover on it, fire away a message to me, and I will see what I can do for another tutorial at some point. Excellent. Right, so I hope that was useful. If you've got any feedback on it, I would greatly appreciate it. If you can let me know how you think that went, and whether you learned what you wanted to learn. Let me just, before we finish, let me just bring out up those web pages again. So this is the Orby, which is the yellow button. This is the commercial foot switch, so the black one is the one that I'm using, which is that one. Comes with quite a long cable. I was quite impressed, actually. It comes with quite a long cable. I've got it wrapped around quite a long way, which is very good. And it's quite a tough cable as well. It's going to stand to a beating by the looks of it. And then this is the USB dongle itself. There's a little socket in the back, which is where the wire plugs into. If you want to plug more than one thing in, you also need to get one which allows you to plug 3 things into it. They do another version which has 12 inputs on it, if I remember rightly. Union Pacific fan, thank you for the follow, much appreciated. I think we just hit 1,500 followers. That's epic. Thank you very much, everybody. Right, time for some train spotting, I think. So I hope that was useful. Moving on. Right, let me go back to this one.